Hello everyone, today I'm doing an acrylic painting. Pretty large compared to some of the other paintings I've been doing. Not really large, it's only 12 by 12 inches stretch canvas. As usual, I like to start with a toned background so that I'm not working from pure white. In this case, I kind of just started painting over a different canvas that I didn't, a different painting that I didn't end up using. I am painting a tiger. I've always wanted to paint a tiger, but for some reason I never have. Very loosely, I'm sketching in a basic drawing in red. I'm using red because if I were to use black, it would kind of, I don't know, really set the darks as being black instead of having color in them. After doing the sketch, I'm starting to work on picking out the colors in the shadow, starting with the color of the orange in the shadow. Then I move on to doing the whites in the shadow. You might guess I'm not being very exact here. I'm just kind of putting in tones and colors that I'm going to adjust later. Or maybe I won't adjust them. Maybe I'll like exactly what I lay down. But probably not. In my head, I've lately been thinking about leaving my paintings very loose, like they are in the early stages, but I never seem to be able to let them stay that way. So as much as I like the big brush strokes and the loose shapes here, I will end up refining them quite a bit more than I would like to. If I could find some balance where I'm happy with the overall drawing and feeling of it without getting into a lot of detail, that would be probably my happy place. There's a bit of a kind of reflected light in the reference photo that's casting some warm yellows into the whites of the underside, kind of reflecting off of the ground, I guess. Now I'm starting to think about the transitions from the shadows into the light. These are the areas where you'll often find the most saturated colors on the edge of the shadow. The color of the orange in the full sunlight is almost yellow because of how bright the sun is and how much, I guess, how much color it adds to it. I'm starting to think a little bit differently using these acrylics than I would with the oils. If I were to do this in oils, I would probably have to plan out all of the stripes beforehand so that I wouldn't end up getting muddy at trying to put the stripes over the orange or the orange over the stripes. But with the acrylics, I just have to wait for the layer to dry really quickly, and then I can just paint the stripes over the orange without it getting muddy. So this is going to look not so much like a tiger in the beginning because it's just going to be one color instead of striped. Looks a little like a saber-toothed tiger. So on my palette I have titanium white, Indian yellow, burnt sienna, some kind of red, phthalo blue, and black. I think for the most part I use just this one brush, which is kind of a medium-sized round brush. I can use just the tip for some finer details, and just really smush the brush in for some juicy strokes. Then I start working on the whites in the light, and for that I'm just using pure white instead of instead of something with a color to it. The reference photo is really bright in the sunshine. Even though I'm working really quick to kind of get a lot of wet into wet action with the paint, I'm actually surprised at how wet it is staying on the canvas. I think in this painting I'm not using any medium, I'm just using water to keep the paint flowing. I made the stripes in the sunlight almost a brown, orangey brown, so they could be darker in the shadow, so you could tell more about how they fall into shadow. And you can sort of see that in the reference, that it's kind of a lot lighter in the sunshine. I let it dry completely for 15-20 minutes or so before I started painting on it again, because I wanted to put out some fresh paint and kind of start a new layer. As the acrylics dry, they kind of get dull, so I added some gloss gloss acrylic varnish, I think. Or maybe it's medium, to bring back some of the darks and lights as they would be when they're wet. Just so I can tell that the new wet paint is matching the dry paint in value. This is the one time I think I use a bigger brush to do this blue background. I wanted some really big brush strokes. I decided that I didn't go light enough in the lights in the sunshine, so I'm going back over the lighted areas with with an even higher value of yellow. I start to get into more detail, and for better or worse, I kind of like finding the little areas that I can finesse, but at the same time, I don't know, overall it seems like too much detail for me. I think it's interesting that big cats and small cats have different shaped pupils. Tigers have round pupils, where your house cat will have the vertical slits. I changed the color of the eyes because I wanted to have a little more contrast between the fur color and the eye color, just to make them pop more. So I chose kind of a green color. I don't think tigers really have those green eyes, but I'm not sure. Painting for me is kind of like a balance between what I see, what I know, and what I feel. I guess everyone probably chooses the balance of those things in their own work. You could rely on one more than the other. Cats have a lot of whiskers when you really look at it. I'm only putting a fraction of what's in the reference. I guess that's an example of finding that balance between what you feel, what you see, and what you know. Because I can see a lot more whiskers than I want to put in. That stripe on its lower shoulder in the corner of the painting, I was drawing a little too much attention, so I go back and I kind of decrease the contrast in that area so that it doesn't pull your eye down there so much. I didn't get it on video, but after this painting is dry, I go back with some fluid acrylics in a squeeze bottle and put some dots in the background that you'll see in the finish here. There was something about the tiger's expression that I thought it needed some punctuation. And I debated whether I wanted to put like lines, like a comic book coming from radiating from its head, like a kind of a shocked expression, but I went with the dots because I like the pattern. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.